So let's get straight in and speak with Sam. Sam, can you hear me? Are you on mute, Sam?
I am.
Yes, Sam. Good boy. You know how to press that mute button like the best of them. Thanks for coming on, mate. How are you feeling after that game? What did you make of it as a whole?
Look, I think it was a much better performance than Wednesday night, that's for sure, against a much stronger opposition. No disrespect to Coventry. I think we came out just much better than we have previously. But personally, I think that was because Brentford actually played maybe not open, but a lot more open than we're used to, at least like under Ange. And I just think that we did very well to exploit the space that they left. Admittedly, I think that had they had Wissa, we would have probably struggled a bit more. I just think they didn't have that penetration in behind. I mean, I can't really think of too many chances other than the ones that you mentioned on the post match, and obviously they scored with their first shot an unbelievable goal from a player that a lot of Spurs fans said that they'd be interested in taking. But yeah,
I'll tell you what. That finish surprised me because I know he's a really willing runner of the channels. I really like the work he does like that. But the technique involved in that finish really surprised me, especially so early in the game where you're not really warming into it. I can totally see why a lot of Spurs fans were interested in him.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I feel like when that goal goes in, probably every single Spurs fan on the planet put their head in their hands and just thought, here we go again.
Totally.
And I'm surprised, to be honest, because I actually quite like Frank as a manager. I thought, he would have just taken the mold that everyone else plays and just tried to sit there and hit us on the counter. And, some of the pace they have in the team, they could have got us on the counter. So I was quite surprised with that. But look, our pressing was unbelievable today. It felt a little bit like the Pochettino teams of old, all the players getting in there. We still weren't as clinical as I'd like to have been, but the pressing alone made me sort of relax a little bit in my despair of late.
It feels to me like at some point we're going to put about 6 or 7 past someone. But we're, although, as I said in the post-match reaction, although we made better decisions in the final third today, there's still just so many chances we're missing. And once again, I feel like I have to bring up once again how Tottenham fans, we all have to realise that what we would normally think of as a good chance is no longer a good chance because we don't have Harry Kane anymore. And if Harry Kane was playing in this team, my God, we would put some teams to the sword. But anyway, more importantly, in terms of Big Ange and the pressure that he was under, does that lighten it a little bit? And in the end, it kind of looks like a decent week in that we've got through to the next round of the Cup and we've got 3 points in the league, and then we can move on to Old Trafford with a bit more confidence.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you always want the wins, and the wins will definitely sort of ease some of the pressure that he was facing. I think if you're looking at it on paper, for sure, we've won our first game of the Carabao Cup for what feels like eons.
Yeah.
We've then gone on and beat quite a tricky team in Brentford, who have given us a run for our money over the last couple of seasons, and they were quite unlucky against City, just didn't quite have the quality to put City away. I'm sure that Pep was quite surprised with how they turned up last week. But I think there's still a lot of questions on Ange. As I say, this definitely does help him a little bit. And I do think that we played slightly differently. I felt that Porro actually played a bit wider today, which I was happy with. You said that Maddison was your man of the match. I can definitely see that. But I thought that Porro was back to maybe not his best, but definitely back up there in his performance. Getting us forward and really taking on his players. I was quite impressed. Again, I thought Brennan Johnson, he's had a tough season, really. Let's be honest. Even with the goals and assists last season, he was still under quite a lot of scrutiny, and that really came to a head after the derby, which I've said before on the Irish Hotspur, and I'll say it again. You've got to get behind your players, no matter how crap you think they are, right? And I don't think that Brendan is crap. I think he's a young guy who is suffering from a serious lack of confidence, and also he's used to just getting the ball over the top and running in behind, where as I said at the start of the stream, we just don't play teams that do that. And look, 2 goals on the bounce for him is only going to do him more good. You know, it's good to see him smiling after the goal, because there was a few sort of questions as to whether, you know, he was sort of fed up with the fans and how they were treating him after that. But I do agree with some people who were saying, I think that his lack of celebration after the game was more because we got out of danger, and I think he was a bit worried that, you know, if he goes over the top, he gets even more abuse about his mentality and things like that.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, it's definitely a positive result. There was still some question marks. I think Vicario, I ask more and more questions every game, and it's a shame, because I like Vicario, but I mean, I agree with all your points. He's shaky from crosses, and he's shaky from set pieces, and I think that the fact that he's so shaky is really affecting his confidence as well. And he seems to do some of the simple things wrong. Like if we conceded that goal where he gets the ball from our fullback and then decides to kind of try and do a Cruyff turn or whatever in the box right on his goal line. I mean, if he concedes that, the pitchforks are out, I reckon, you know.
Can I ask, did you hear anything from the commentary, because I didn't, that made any sense of why that deliberate handball wasn't given against him?
No, they kind of didn't really say. I mean, the stream that I was watching, they were just saying basically he's really lucky and it should have been a red. And it was kind of, I didn't really understand it. Like, I get it, you know, he didn't want to give away the chance. But if we end up going down to 10 men there, the chances are we lose that game, right? You know, Frank brings on some more attacking players. Sharda against 10 men, you know, would have been dangerous with Mburma. So, yeah, I mean, we obviously got away with one. It's nice to have it on our side for once. Yeah, I don't know. It was a strange one.
Sam, I think it shows how scrambled his brain is when the ball is in the air coming towards him at the moment, because, to be honest, at any point, the ball was such a loopy cross. It wasn't whipped in at pace. At any point, he could have thought, oh, maybe I'm not going to quite make this, or I might go out of my box if I catch it. So just punch it out. He punched out like way weirder ones than that already in the game. His brain is completely scrambled. He talked about it in the press this week about knowing how much pressure there is on him from set pieces. I think it's got to him a little bit too much, and there is a danger there. Now, the issue I have is, like I said, I like him as well. I think he's an excellent shot stopper, clearly a good bloke, a good personality around the changing room. But also, we're going to have to, if Ange were to come out and do an Arteta and say, actually, my first choice goalkeeper isn't good enough for me, then you're looking at having to spend 40 to 50 million pounds to replace him. And I'm not sure off the top of my head who exactly you go for at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. And if you hadn't said that, I'd have probably said the same thing, as much as I don't like to credit Lego Man. Yeah, I mean,
it's hard, yeah, but he made a very difficult decision. He was given a lot of abuse for it, and actually Raya is keeping them in games at the moment. So,
yeah, I mean, look, it is frustrating that Brentford just wouldn't let us get Raya last season. And as I said, I like Vicario. I think he's a great personality. The quote about signing in blood and like crawling to Spurs, you know, that's the kind of stuff you want to see from a player. But like, what did we offer Brentford? Like 30 million, and they ended up taking 25 or something from Arsenal.
But you've got to think, I was saying this before the game, you've got to think that Ryan knew that Arsenal were interested in him, so was basically holding out. Sometimes, I know it's really easy, especially online, for people to be like, Levy didn't offer the money, didn't do the money. But actually, sometimes it's like they know who are after them and they're waiting for that. And actually, in the end, Arsenal had to do some pretty tricksy accounting to get it through as a loan, didn't they? And Spurs will have been given the nod that actually he was waiting for Arsenal. I think my personal opinion is that's more likely.
Yeah, no, I can see that as well. But I think maybe it looks a little bit, you know, we've let players like Mamadashvili, who had a great Euros, go to Liverpool, and he looks like he's going to be a good signing for the future. You know, he's still very young. There are goalkeepers out there, you know. I like the look of, what's his name, Diogo Costa, the Portuguese goalkeeper.
Yeah. Really good.
I just think we need to sign, if we are going to sign a goalkeeper, you know, we need to sign someone who is not just confident, but physically dominating. You know, if we had a goalkeeper sort of a mix between Forster and Vicario, we'd actually probably, I mean, maybe not in decision-making after the last 2 games, we've seen a few mistakes, but in terms of actual physicality and save ability, You know, someone to just command their box and just go through players. Because I think it was Fraser Forster was actually scouted playing rugby.
Oh, right.
So you know, and he's an absolute unit. So we need
So,
we need someone just to dominate.
yeah, I know what you mean, but Sam, I think it's fair to say everyone would probably agree that we've got bigger kind of fish to fry problems-wise within our first team before we go there, probably. I've got to bring in some other callers, Sam, but before I let you go, thanks so much for calling in, but also give me your prediction now for the Old Trafford game.
I've seen a few people calling it the El Sacico Part 2. I think Ange has saved himself a bit of respite from criticism. I feel like I go quite hard on Ange, but I'm not Ange out. I just demand a certain level from the club that we haven't seen for a while, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it will be a cagey game again against them. I can see them scoring first, and I think it might be a tight 2-1 to us.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see if Ten Hag goes full Arteta ball and gets 11 men behind the ball. I think he probably will, because everybody knows that's the way to frustrate Spurs. But listen, Sam, that was a brilliant call. Thanks so much, mate. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Watch Match of the Day, because these wins are not coming along that often at the moment. Come on, you Spurs. Top man.
Cheers, Barnaby.